Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Raw Men. This is episode number 41. And today I'm going to be dealing with another progressive group. This is the Secular Latino Alliance. I have Salvia Real, Jesus Perez, Luciano Gonzalez, Gary Angel, and Alex, we haven't got his name yet, and Tracy, Empress of the Universe, calling into us from San Diego.
Savage, last name.
Hola.
All right. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Doing very well.
Awesome.
So, Secular Latino Alliance in San Diego. How did that happen?
Oh, because we're from all different parts of the country. How did I get into it?
How did it get started?
Well, we basically had started the group because it's a very interesting demographic that doesn't have an awful lot of Latinos involved in it, which is secular humanism, atheism, agnostic, but basically leaving religion. And this is because the Latino community is so ingrained with family and religion together that a lot of people don't have anyone that they know that left the religion. And there's a need for it, and since we have established the group, what number are we at? 700 and something members, and we only started at the end of October.
And this is a national organization, is it?
Well, we're really kind of an internet-based organization, so we have members from all kinds of Latin communities, Chile, Peru, Puerto Rico, Brazil, really all over the world now.
Very good. I love living in the internet age and the smartphone age and all that. I mean, you can romanticize any other past period that you want, but give me right now.
Yeah, me too. Plus, we have like indoor plumbing and stuff. So I'm good with that. Thank you.
Medication, yes, but it's all good. So, in the culture thing, you were talking about how you have the religion that's ingrained in the Latino culture. I don't know if I'm even using the right terms here. One of the things that disturbed me was seeing down in Mexico, there was this huge thing where they had a lot of the prosperity gospel thing kind of taken over what was traditionally Catholic background, and I'm like, oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is,
and it's up here too because of the people being so close, right?
Yeah. So I'm not seeing. I want to see people progress out of, and this is kind of like just a lateral shift, you know.
We have some pretty hardcore atheists that have left the community, and Catholicism too, and they don't back down from an argument, even in their families. But then there's other people that they just can't really. They've made the shift themselves, and they just don't want to see their children grow up in that atmosphere. And so this is another thing. You've got grandmas and grandpas, tias, they're like, you can't do this to your children. And so there's an awful lot of guilt associated with leaving the church.
So somehow not imposing these unsubstantiated beliefs is somehow doing something to your children.
Yeah. To them, they feel like they're condemning them to hell, of course,
Yeah, well, my wife is half Vietnamese, and she was raised for a time in the care of Vietnamese Catholic nuns. So I got to get all kinds of horror stories about that upbringing. Yeah.
Well, I think I have a very close friend that she let her daughter go visit her grandmother down in Sonora, and when the daughter came back, she had been confirmed in the church. So there you go.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to the flock. Yeah, and this is so you are literally dealing with people that will take no for an answer, and when somebody makes up their mind that they aren't going to be going to Mass anymore, or they're not going to be partaking in whatever the church is, Jehovah's Witness or whatever, there is a very big blowback from the family and the community. So, for these people to do this is a very brave move.
See, it's also surprising to I'm having a conversation with secularists, and yet I'm speaking to somebody named Jesus and somebody named Angel. That's the first person I want to get your background on is Luciano.
Mm-hmm.
How did you become secular? How did you get involved in this group? What was your motivation?
So I'm different in the sense that I was the only person who is part of the Secular Latino Alliance who wasn't originally part of the first group. And I got involved honestly because I'm an obnoxious writer.
It's true. It's true.
It is true. Yeah, I can forth that, Biff.
What do you write to, or what do you write for?
So I write for multiple places. I actually have my own Facebook page called the Hispanic Atheist. But what happened was that I'm friends with Johnny Brotherton, who is another atheist from the same region that I am, because I live in the Bible Belt. And he and I are friends on Facebook, and we've chatted a few times. I commented on one of his statuses, and Sal saw my comment, and he started reading some of my statuses. And Sal, I think you should say the rest.
Yeah, I pretty much came to the rest of the admins at that time because there were three of us. It was me, Tracy, and Jesus. And I said, hey, there's this kid. Seems like a college age kid, and he's standing up for himself. All these guys are kind of attacking him, and I kind of like the cut of his jib, if you know what I mean. So
Gotcha.
I said, what do you think about bringing them on board? And they were for it. So
No, I was against it from the very beginning.
Okay, well, and it's Jesus, right?
Jesus, yes.
Okay. What's your story then?
Well, my story, I mean, I come from a Mexican background. I grew up in Chicago. I'm in Illinois, and of course, I went to Sunday school and pretty much learned everything in order to do your first communion and all of that. And I was the kid that always asked questions, so you know that the nuns loved me for that.
Oh yeah.
But growing up, I mean, it was more of a cultural thing. You know, for me, it wasn't. It's like I still had this belief in a God, but it wasn't like your hardcore belief that I guess.
There's the belief that you have because everybody believes this, and everybody believes it so fervently and makes all these claims about having evidence of near-death experiences and all like this that you don't know how to discount all of that. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah. And then like during high school, that's when I started learning more about like I took my we had a course in high school that was was like a Latin American history course, and that kind of like just opened my eyes to things on how like religion has pretty much intertwined itself into the Latino culture.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess for me, coming out as an atheist, I had to go through a tragedy myself. My wife and I, we were going to have a son, and he was stillborn. And that kind of like, well, I mean, it's something hard to go through, of course. And I try to be strong for my wife as best as I could, and everybody else was like, oh, is she okay? And I didn't really get the whole, is the father okay? And so it was hard on me for a couple of years, and I tried to make sense out of it. And so the thing is that I wasn't into religion during that time, but I needed something to make sense out of this, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was suggested to me, well, you'll find the answers in the Bible. I'm like, okay. And
not to any question I ever asked.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I read the Bible cover to cover. And it was the best thing that I ever did in my life, because I realized it was just a bunch of bullshit,
Yeah.
So, and here I am right now.
And speaking of here I am, we got another edition. We have Alex.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, how do you do? I can't see you. You have a camera. It's fine if you don't. I just want to let you know that you're on audio only at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry, I forgot to put the put the camera on.
It's quite all right. And I'm gonna, while he's doing that, or I guess if he's doing that, I'm gonna jump over to Sal, and because I haven't asked you yet, what was your? I mean, I know that you had some involvement in like the administration you mentioned.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how did you get in, how did you get started?
Well, originally I was helping to admin. Shortly after I became an atheist, or realized I was an atheist, I was helping to admin a group called Ask a Friendly Atheist. And after a few months, I kept seeing several Latinos coming in and asking certain things, questions that pertain mostly to how to deal with coming out to your family, or how to deal with being an atheist with Catholic families. And I realized there wasn't really anybody who could quite grasp what they were asking. And so I kind of just started doing a Facebook search looking for Latinos. I found a group, and I joined them. They were kind of a small group, and so I recruited Tracy and Jesus. That didn't end up working out for us. And
yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah, we were there for maybe 20 days. We had a difference of administration procedures, and so we left and formed our own Facebook group. And since then, it's just kind of evolved beyond that, if you know what I mean.
Let me ask you this, because I think this is kind of pivotal to what you guys are all about. I mean, these questions that you have Latinos coming up to ask these questions, and somebody is not able to deal with those questions. Why is that? You said that the questions were not being properly addressed, and I'm guessing from the gist of it is that there's a background capacity, that there's no point of relation for the person that's asking the question, for the person that's supposed to give an answer. They don't have an idea of the cultural background or the particulars somehow. Maybe they're based only in facts.
Yeah, it's too ingrained. It's like tentacles. You can't get away from it. You can't have a dinner without, like a Sunday dinner, or even just like they invite the priest and nuns to come eat with them. It's you can't even turn 15 years old without a quinceañera. You know what I mean? It's something that is every single time there's a milestone in their life, the church is there. And these people, you are born and you die by the church, and they aren't going to give it up. Even if you don't go to mass and you say, I'm a confirmed atheist, when I die, that's it, I go into the carbon cycle, and your auntie will be lighting candles, little votives for you at mass. That's what's going to happen. They're so afraid of saying no. I think that it's almost sort of like a master-slave relationship for so many centuries that they don't know any other way. So to break away from El Jefe, which is like the church, that's what's going to happen. You're really iconoclasting in such a major way. You're saying no to the family, you're saying no to the community, you're saying no to the culture, and that's how they see it. They don't understand that they have, if asking a simple question is enough to get you the ire of everybody in the family, and questioning the church, like, was there really a flood? They're like, you don't need to know that. It says so here. And why are you even reading the Bible? That's the priest's job. You just go to mass and
Catholic,
and behave.
It's modern.
Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, Tracy makes a good point. My mother has a Bible, and I love my mom to death, but she has a Bible that when we were kids, it was wrapped in velvet and just kept in a drawer. We weren't allowed to touch it. We weren't allowed to read it. It was just there.
Is it supposed to emanate powers or something?
Maybe.
It's the family Bible.
Well, I'm wondering if secular Latinos can take maybe a lesson from secular Jews, because I know an awful lot of Jews, particularly in New York, who have like no belief in God, but they haven't abandoned any part of their. They do the whole thing. They just do it without a belief. It's this. I don't know. This is just this ritual that you go through. There's a lot of people that are sitting in church that don't even realize that they are atheists. They're sitting in the church because they have this thing that they do all the time. It's just a habit for them. They don't believe a word of what they're saying, but this is just motions that they go through without questioning.
Yeah, we call that cultural Catholic here with us.
Yeah. Yeah, that, and also our mom's chancla, right? Going around the corner. Poof.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What's that? I think
Shoe,
I missed an
a sandal.
joke.
It's a sandal. It's a joke. They like throw their sandal at you if you like or get out of line. It's a cultural discipline practice.
All right, well, Now I can see Alex, and Gary, afraid has gone off video, so I don't know what. Gary, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
You can't hear me, and I'm talking straight to you. Talking.
Now.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah, I fixed it.
Wives.
So Gary, same question as the other guys. I mean, what is your motivation or your story that got you behind? Why do you believe in what you're doing?
Why do I believe in what I'm doing? Okay, well, I started out life as the Catholic, Vatican II Catholic, because I found out about all this when my grandmother had a fun conversation with my aunt, and they spoke about the Vatican II Catholic Church versus the traditional Roman Catholic Church. And so very early on, I just got that idea, like, why are there different churches? It's the same thing. Like, what? What do you mean we're going to a different church?
And help me out with this. As I understand it, round about the time that I was born, the Catholic Church went through some kind of a schism, where it became Vatican II, or
right.
Okay. And quick summary of what that means.
Quick summary of what Vatican II means is, instead of an altar, they used the table. The priest would face the people instead of facing the crucifix at all times. That sort of thing. Doing the Mass in English instead of in Latin. Those
so
kind of things.
pretty significant change.
Very.
Yeah, it was a big one.
Yeah, it was huge.
Now,
I've
heard Catholics say that every pope after that period is all like is some secret anti-pope.
Yeah.
Yes, because it was so much better before with those leaders. Yeah, totally. You guys were amazing.
Yeah, I didn't mean to sidetrack you. So
no, that's fine. So I just kind of I always had like a healthy dose of common sense. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why does it not? And I would always get those default answers of do not question God and or mysterious ways, which answers nothing. And, now that I have children, I see how like child logic works. And religion to me is just child logic.
Yeah.
That's the way I see my kids work out problems by themselves, and I'm like, okay, let me come in and let you explain to you what it really means. It just all goes to how religion works. Let's harp on your little superstitions or the unknown and give you an answer, and you'll just accept it happily. And I never could accept that. I went through catechism, all that stuff. I studied the Bible in my teenage years, and none of it ever fell together for me, so I just chalk it up to common sense, really.
Yeah, I've long suspected that Jesus had more in common with Santa Claus than Caesar.
Exactly. Exactly. I've actually stated that before. What's the difference in believing a fat guy in a red suit flies around the world and gives rewards to people that deserve them, and to Jesus or God or Yahweh, or what's the difference?
Because
it's the
Santa
same
Claus
concept.
Makes sense.
Right.
Well, because
Santa
Jesus
Claus doesn't rap.
And also, Santa Claus isn't going to send you to eternal lakes of fire, because you don't love him.
Well, he's got Krampus.
He's just going to he's just bringing a lump of coal.
Are you guys familiar with the Krampus tradition?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like not too much.
So when you get Krampus in the equation, it literally becomes, the guy with the long white beard and the devil figure, it's the same exact story, really. It's just confined to a sleigh.
Right.
And he's still disobedient children.
So, was there anything you wanted to add to that, Gary?
No, it was just one small little thing. My grandmother was she raised me. She was an alcoholic, but every night before myself and my sister and my uncle would go to bed, she would bless us, and she would have us kneel in front of her, and she would do the in nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, and I remember thinking to myself, if my drunken grandmother, who just got mad at me an hour ago over nothing and beat the snot out of me, is a conduit for God, what the hell does that say for priests?
True.
Okay. Yeah. Alex.
Hey.
Same question to you, sir.
Including
a bit of your background, if you would.
Well, I was just raised Catholic, throughout my whole life. I I grew up in an area where people were more lenient when it came to your beliefs. I just grew up in the environment in which you just did it because it was the cultural norm. I mean, me being like in Los Angeles, like I had the opportunity of meeting people with different religions and different backgrounds, and I mean that started to break the cycle for me. I mean, if I was born in like Mexico, I would still I would most likely be a Catholic, and I would most likely.
I got to throw in something on that since you're bringing it up. That's the same thing with me. I was raised in a primarily Mormon family, and when we moved to Los Angeles, where suddenly the Mormons don't own and control everything.
Right.
Then I got to see the prejudice within Christianity, where Baptists are pissing on Mormons and so forth, and so that's where the hypocrisy that I noticed, and that was the first, I guess, kink that started breaking me away. Go ahead, please.
And then all of the Protestants, like, collide against the Catholics.
Yeah, because Catholics aren't really Christian, remember?
Oh, this is beautiful. They're so proud. They're so proud that Christianity is the #1 religion. Why do we need that billion or so Catholics? We can just discard them, and we'll still be the #1. No, if you don't have the Catholics, then Christianity is the 4th largest religion after Hinduism.
That's true. Very true.
A lot of people don't realize that there are hundreds of millions of Hindus. So there are more Hindus just in India than there are Protestant Christians everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's no other countries but America, see? It's like us and then all those other countries. That's right.
And I cut off Alex again because I'm really bad at interrupting everybody. Alex, go ahead, please.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, basically that was going on with me like when I was a kid, and I mean, I just grew up with that. I still had the notion that like Jesus Christ is the Son of God and that like He was my Lord and Savior, all that. I just went through all of the practices until I got into college, and then I took like a comparative mythology class, and in that class they included Hinduism, which surprised me because I then realized that Hinduism is the oldest extant religion. And then I noticed a lot of similarities between that and all of the other older pagan religions. And then I never put two and two together, and then just brought that criticism back to Christianity until I was in college. And then that's where I started to question it. Now I was agnostic for a bit because I still had the notion of a deistic God, like some sort of creative deity that lives outside of our reality, and it's one that we cannot detect. But then I went into I didn't even know what an atheist was. I just thought it was just you believed in something. Even if you believed in Satan, you would still believe in something. Not just being like, oh, well, there's nothing. Like it's just us in this world with our crazy imagination. But then I realized, like, I didn't know that atheists exist until I found, and I have to admit, I found your page, and that's what brought me into the movement. Yeah, that's when I started to see the arguments of atheism versus theism, and then I realized that the arguments for atheism were stronger than the arguments for the belief, like in the existence of God, because I realized that like the proofs for God were like really fallacious. You had to assume a lot of things. My go-to questions generally come down to like two basic questions whenever someone says, oh, a God exists, and then my first one is which one? Because there's so many. Mm-hmm. There's like thousands of gods, so which one? And then the second follow-up question is why that one?
Yeah.
So those are that's basically what got me into it.
Yeah, I actually brought that up to an insurance company when they said something about act of God, and it was.
Oh yeah.
It's lightning. It's Thor. It's lightning. It's Thor.
I said exactly which one. If you're going to claim that it was a god, I want to know which one did it.
Yeah, right.
So Tracy, I haven't gotten to you. What was your impetus? What drove you to?
What got me into my heathenism?
Yeah. Background.
Well, my dad's Baptist, Southern Baptist.
Okay, so everybody else here is strictly from a Catholic background.
Wait, my mother's Catholic.
Okay.
So
strictly Catholic.
So it was an inner denominational marriage, and it was never really questioned. However, my mom is really anthropologically minded about investigating and understanding history of peoples. So I was always allowed to ask a lot of questions. I actually taught Sunday school because I wanted to get out of the sermon and it was at the same time, so I was like, sign me up. And so I mostly, and I know this is a terrible thing to say, and I'm sure if anybody, which they probably are not listening, but I didn't really do anything with any sort of biblical background. It was more like if I found something about nature within the Psalms, I would turn that into like a nature walk, and then we would find pine cones and whatever. We would talk about, ecology, and then, respecting the earth and all this. This is where we live, and and then of course there. I know, right? Biology started early.
Not exactly what you traditionally expect from Catholic school.
No, and then there's also, you have values clarification. I got a hold of a book that my mom had in college, and it was over because I thought, okay, these are perfect, and I would find non-combative scripture that I could sort of plug in there, and it worked for a short period of time until I got disgusted with it because all my friends had either moved away or they were in different cities where they weren't going to be driving in. I was really the only person in my age group. They weren't going to give me special instruction because I had all these questions about the Bible, and they basically told me that they would have to order 12 books, and one person just wasn't worth it. And at the time I was on their quote-unquote Board of Christian Education, and I just threw down the badge and I said sayonara, and I left. And I had about a week and a half later 2 old guys from the church banging on my door saying, look, you pledged this much in tithes, and you got to pay up for the rest of the year. You're not paying it. You've missed a couple weeks of your offerings. And I said, I'm not paying that. I'm not coming to the church anymore. I'm not a member. And they went off on me that I had to go in supposedly to the financial office and speak to them. And because at the beginning of the year you sign a little thing and it says like what you pledge that you're going to be tithing for the year. And I go, that's bullshit, because if I'm not receiving the service, I'm not going to pay for it. And I'm not coming back, so, shove it. And so that sort of didn't go over very well. And I would run into the older people in town, and they would give me so much shit. But anyway, I always had these questions, like, Adam and Eve have belly buttons. What about the ark? It doesn't make sense. Marsupials, My mom was like, well, the story that I got was, these are people in a small area of the world. They're not particularly sophisticated with their arguments. They weren't scientific people. They didn't understand, and so they wrote it in the only way they could understand. And I'm like, yeah, but it's lies. So why are we, since we know about this now, why are we still using this old-timey crap? And I had met a person that was Jewish, and she was telling me about Lilith, and I was like, who the hell is Lilith? I thought it was just Eve, And it's like, and how did they have all these children? Oh, I remember asking one of the teachers about how they had babies, like when they abolished or banished Cain from the garden for killing Abel, and he went away with his wife, and I'm like, his wife? Wait, okay, back this car up.
And I thought it was better with the next scene when he goes to the land, when he establishes a kingdom in the land of Nod. Exactly who is in this kingdom?
Yeah, and it's like it was so strange, and then there was so much like naughty things in the Bible too, and they were always talking about like Lot and his daughters, and then they would just like go shh, around the children, and I was like, well, I don't understand, like, what's this imbibing? What's that? I'm asking all the wrong questions.
Like, what about the homosexual angels? Remember those?
Oh yeah.
That was and he was going to offer up his. Then when he was going to offer his daughters, I totally lost it. I was so upset for like months.
And then the beautiful thing is apparently they didn't want his daughters, so he molested them himself.
Well, apparently they
logic.
Right.
Because fuck logic.
Well, because they were the only people left on their earth, and what I was told by this one pastor was that when I asked him about that, he says, well, you can't use your own today's societal rules on the historical parts of the Bible because they didn't know that it was wrong yet. God hadn't told them that it was wrong.
Stop using your own moral compass.
Yeah. That's exactly what.
And
then I got the lecture about relative and moral relativity and blah blah blah, all the philosophical stuff. And I sat there and I said, you're you know, pissing on me and telling me that it's raining. It's like, this is all of this is a lie. and so then I asked as many questions as I could to as many people from different faiths. And you want to talk about Mormonism? We have so many Mormons in San Diego. Oh, you don't even, if you've not looked at the temple on the side of the freeway down here, that's opulent. And I am shocked that there's not more ex-Mormon Latinos in our group, by the way, because there are so many of them here in this area, and
the
they're
Mormons
in Mexico
oppress,
too.
You know? The Mormons didn't oppress us yet. We know who oppressed us first.
Not yet.
Well, they did help in the Mexican-American War, so I don't know how far you want to go back.
But they were guided by their magic underwear.
God.
That's what I heard.
You know, that's what I heard too. I heard that it repels bullets and things.
I'm embarrassed because I was supposedly raised in a Mormon family, and I don't know like any of their traditions. I've always taken to church like once.
Did you have to go underwater?
I did.
Yeah.
That whole thing with me.
Total submersion.
They had this tradition where they don't indoctrinate you until you've reached the age of reason, which is 8 years old. And so my mom stuck to that, which was one of the great benefits for me, because by the time she started telling me that, about the Bible, I already knew better, because I'd already gotten science books. I was in 2nd grade. Somebody gave me a book on dinosaurs. It had a cladogram. It made sense. So when she comes in and says, this is welcome to your 8th birthday. Here's the absolute truth. And I'm like, no, it's not. See, look what it says here.
Right. And props for the word cladogram, by the way. Just had to do a shout out on that. There's a lot of arguing amongst the biology sect with that word, and sort of with the publication just came out. I'm not going to go into it here, but yeah, on how you classify. So
yeah, we could have another conversation about that, because I'm into that.
Absolutely, but thank you for using that term. So,
so
I appreciate.
If I've got everybody's background story, my next question is, what is the goal or purpose of intent of this organization?
Of hours of SLA?
Yeah.
To provide Sal, you tell. You go.
Well, I mean, that's a good question. As of right now, we're a support group. We're here for the Latinos that don't think that there are others like them. The ones who say to themselves, I don't believe in God, but I can't tell my family this because...
How do you reach out to people like that? How do you find that guy with those troubling thoughts in his head, and he's not voiced them yet? How do you make that person aware that you guys exist?
They find us.
Yeah, they do.
So far.
The majority has.
Yeah. We're not even doing really any advertising.
And usually what also happens is, like, we connect with some of our other friends that have those questions, and then they connect to their friends, and so on. It's like an interconnected thing.
Yeah, I have to apologize, because I was thinking with my 20th century mind.
Yeah. You forget these are Latinos. They all talk. Latinos always know another Latino.
That's not what I meant.
That's what we do. It's all world, Or out.
It used to be.
You're at a 12-year-old kid party drinking Bud Light and just talking about secular. That's how it was.
Yes, it is. Yeah, the guys are in the front yard and the women are in the kitchen, right, Gary?
Yeah, exactly. Get her a Corona. She's 12. She's 12. Get it. By the way, do you believe in God?
What I was forgetting about the 21st century is that if you've got a question, you just type it into Google. It's there.
Yeah.
Of course, I grew up in a different century where we didn't have that. We actually had to go to a library.
It's amazing how many people don't utilize that. I mean, Alex has seen it. People don't utilize it. You guys have seen it. Everybody's seen it. How people don't utilize the facts that are right there. They'll go after the facts that play to their emotions. They won't go after the facts that actually speak to your brain.
Have any of you ever experienced that choice? Have you ever caught yourself? Because I did. I thought there's all these things that I'm interested in. Cryptozoology, Bigfoot, extraterrestrial aliens in South America, and all that.
Okay.
I was 12 years old, right? And I realized that there's only certain books that would even talk about that. And when you did get those books, they all had conflicting information. And then when you looked at science books, so you want to get confirmation from anywhere else, there isn't any. So I realized that I could either just read the things that reinforce what I want to believe, and then I realized I was making a choice there. I realized that this was completely disingenuous to just reaffirm. And I have Christian friends who actually believe in this philosophy, where they tell you, they've told me to fake it till you make it.
Oh yeah. I've had that too. I have done paranormal radio for years, and the things I've heard.
Yeah.
The things I've heard people believe.
Well,
It's nuts. You thought that the flat Earth thing just came up? That's been going on for a long time. And you know, all you got to do is pop into Coast to Coast once in a while.
Yeah, I try not to.
One of the most basic things I ask somebody before I embark in any kind of debate on that kind of subject is, are you willing to not be right? Because I'm willing to not be right totally. I'm willing to be completely wrong. Completely. And that's how any debate should start. And these people just come in, this is the conclusion, right back to the conclusion. It's like, dude, you're not expounding upon anything else. You just keep, read this. You're giving me one book. Stop.
Isn't that basically what your recent series is doing?
Well, that what?
No, RN, isn't that basically what you're answering, that one creationist thing in your series of refuting the irrefutable proof of God? That he's basically just like here, just read our book of Does God Exist? And it's just going back.
Kent Hovind. I have this book, Ken Ham.
Ken Ham, exactly. Ken Ham. There's a book.
I have a book.
He asks, were you there? Well, neither was he. So what the hell kind of argument was that?
And neither
it's
were
all
the
oral.
People were applauding it.
Yeah, neither were the goat humpers that wrote the Bible.
Yeah. See, and here's where your science, that's the reason why a lot of secularists really cling to science to use their findings and their facts, empirical data, to substantiate their points in a debate, because it's done through scientific method, where you form a hypothesis, you collect the data, and then you see what the conclusion is. Whereas the creationists have a conclusion, they work backwards to find data to support the conclusion.
Yeah, and I've actually heard admissions to that effect. You know, not just the fake it till you make it thing, but I mean, you know, people will tell me about how to reaffirm their faith. Well, what is reaffirming? I mean, to find anything you can to convince yourself to help you believe, because you have to try to believe, because wishes won't come true unless you believe hard enough.
That's pretty much what happened with my wife. My wife actually pulled away before I did, because she started reading. She actually started reading, I think it was Stephen Hawking. She wanted to learn about string theory and all this stuff she was hearing about. So she started reading science. And so I got on Amazon and started ordering, well, let's find some Christian scientists and try to convince her that, you know, she could be a Christian and believe in science. And so we watched the Ken Ham Bill Nye debate, and now I'm an atheist.
See how that works? Well, then you had Ken Miller. You know.
I mean, you probably always had the doubts there, though, right, Sal? I mean, that was just kind of the turning point.
I was kind of, I grew up not non-denominational, a non-practicing Catholic, so we didn't really go to church. I rebelled in my teenage years and became Wiccan for 5 years. I met my wife, and
me too. I did the pagan transition.
I did the pagan thing too. You know, they just don't wear any deodorant. It's kind of gross.
Oh, I didn't do that. But when I met my wife,
pagan enough.
I get it. But my wife was actually she went to a fundamentalist Baptist church, and I kind of got sucked in. But I guess I always had those doubts, like you said, Gary, and so we went there for a while, and some of the things that they said I didn't agree with. So I started going to my uncle's church, and he's a non-denominational pastor, and he would always tell me, you know, God's got big plans for you, and I joke with them, I'm like, maybe this is them.
The thing that bothers me is when they make these assertions, you know, they just state as fact whatever they pulled out of their ass.
Right.
You know, when if you have any understanding of science at all, there's a kind of a philosophy that goes with it for accuracy and accountability. You know, people are criticizing, and that guy that I'm doing that video series on is really upset about people saying things like probably or maybe or, you know, anything that shows an uncertainty in the investigation. Well, this is because they're being honest and they're not pretending to know what no one even can know. You know.
Well, the 99.9%. you know.
This is the problem that I have with religious belief when they say that I know that I know that I know. You fucking don't.
Well, that's exactly, yeah. That's one of my favorite comedians, Bill Burr. He was like, I'm looking at the priest like, you're just some fucking guy. You're not fooling me with your robes and your freaking fancy words. You're just some fucking guy. You're not a conduit for a higher being. What?
And George Carlin said much the same thing. He said he has every bit as much authority as the Pope, just not as many people who realize it.
That's true. Actually, he probably does now, because even posthumously, he's like even more popular now than he ever was.
Oh, he's
reaching younger.
Timeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, now Sal's story really threw me because I wasn't expecting. Anytime I hear about a recent conversion, it's always a bit of a surprise, especially the one like this, the Bill Nye debate. Really?
Really? I mean, really? Yeah. I was trying so hard to convince her that the Bible was correct that I didn't see it coming myself. That I would. I went into the debate, and I am ashamed to say this. I went into the debate rooting for Ham. And I'm sorry, but at the end of it, I thought, what the hell have I been thinking?
And then Bill Blasphemy.
I'm agape.
I so want Ken Ham to hear that.
If it makes you feel any better, I converted after watching God's Not Dead, which is someone who's seen both is way worse. So I'm a college student. I'm located in Greensboro, North Carolina, and everyone knows about Winter Jam. It's that Christian music festival. Well, when I was a freshman, so 2014, they came and they had New Boys, which is this really popular Christian rock band, and they advertised the movie, and I was really hyped because I wasn't feeling the faith. I was already slipping away. And I went to go see the movie, and after seeing the movie, I realized that I didn't believe.
Wow.
The movie was actually the final straw for me.
And I want Kirk Cameron to hear that.
Yeah, Kirk. Yeah, throw that down. I remember back on MySpace, when we first started, we didn't. What was that?
I said, Ray, we have an emergency. Bring your banana.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, on MySpace, it was the most hilarious thing because when we first started out, we were all separated, and then we were looking at the religion and philosophy blogs, and all the religious people owned it. There was every so often you'd have some guy that was just posting, philosophy, and really not a lot of people are going to read it unless they're into it, just like philosophers basically buy each other's books kind of idea, So we had one guy, and he called himself Gadfly eventually, but he would get us together, and we had another one, Human Evolution, another one was Evolution as a Fact, and then of course there was my Savage Science. And so we would get together in the middle of the night, and we would blog swarm these fundies, and we would just post all this, like bury them in information and articles, and these people would be like crying in the morning, like, you people are evil.
You're giving a great demonstration of what happens when nerds go bad.
Yeah, we did, and we had really funny memes. But yeah, that was the first time I saw the video of Kirk Cameron and Ray sitting on those benches. I almost thought that Kirk thought it was like a gag because I was looking at his face. Rewatch that. I think he was going to say like it was a sexual joke, and because that's what I was thinking. Because he says it perfectly fits in your mouth. I'm like, are the cameras still rolling? This is fantastic, And then he like caught himself and he like fell right into goose stepping with him like, oh yeah, right, Ray, right, And we're all like, yeah, bananas. I'm the atheist nightmare. I'm having an atheist nightmare with my cereal.
Those are GMO bananas.
Yeah.
God would not give us GMOs. Stop it.
Yeah, that's another thing about how did God make that damn banana?
Right. Exactly.
What did he base it off of?
Oh, God.
Well, it only took man to come along and fix it, right?
What is God, Deadpool? What's going on? What is he doing?
Well, people talk about, how smart is God, and I've talked to a couple of people. You have these arguments. Well, let's look at how smart God is. God created male and female for absolutely every other thing, and then He made a guy and gave him nipples that don't work, and gave him testicles he can't use because He hasn't created a female. So, what was I thinking? I need a helpmate. Why don't you find an animal that you can make your helpmate?
Yeah, the whole Bible is a troubleshooting manual.
What am I doing with this thing, man? What am I? Oh, I need one.
Still fixing it.
Everything else I made from dirt. I need something from you, though. What?
So
it's a mystery.
I got your background. I got your goal.
Yeah.
Do you have any opposition? Do you have any contest?
What, within the group itself?
No. I was
You
thinking
mean in the
outside the
Latino
group.
community?
Yeah, I mean, how do people?
Oh yeah, yes.
Well,
yeah.
I think
Where
what
do we
Aaron's
begin?
referring to. Do you mean do we have other groups that could compete for what we're trying to do?
No. I'm talking about the way that people respond when you're trying to. I mean, it's like the Clergy Project or any other thing that's trying to help people out of religion. Well, they're going to get a whole lot of flack from religious groups, right? I mean, is that what you're?
Mm-hmm.
You know what they usually do, at least for right now, especially because the Pope is in Mexico. They keep on, like at least what my parents are trying to do to try to get me back into the faith is like, Pope's on the air, 24/7, like Univision. They have a 24/7, like round-the-clock thing on the Pope's visits to Mexico and just talking to different, like in different cities and all that. And I'm just laughing at the fact that, like, he's the representation of God, yet he has to be protected by a bulletproof car, surrounded by like his own bodyguards. And then he has to say that, like, violence is not the answer,
Oh,
Well, that's because men are evil. It's not God, it's men that are evil. See,
he's referring to the group as he's asking if the group as a whole has gotten any opposition from any outside, like Christian Against Dinosaurs.
Well, we have just started having swag with our group. Jesus is a fantastic graphic artist, and he's just started making stickers. And I want to take them to a couple of like local events and start handing them out. So I will probably put on like a video of what's going on when I'm handing them out. I know I'm going to get a hard time. I've had the Darwin thing taken off my car like so many times you don't even know. So I just stopped putting one on there.
The only thing I've got one bumper sticker that says that atheism is myth understood.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one says God is just pretend. And they're matching stickers, the same color on either side of my car. And the only thing I've gotten was somebody put a ball peen hammer through one of my windows.
Wow. Oh, see.
Only.
And then when I was driving around backwoods Louisiana, which I don't advise if you've got atheist bumper stickers.
No.
And somebody pulled up ahead of me and emptied a Slurpee out their window so that it would spray all over my windshield. And then they cut the exit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's mature.
See,
we're the ones without the moral compass.
I live in a very progressive city, and it's just the fact that I usually drive around with my 4 sons in my vehicle, I'm just not going to tempt fate, man, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I'll wear shirts like this, I trust science and everything, but I'm not, it's I don't know, as coming from me being a parent, I don't know, I don't want to put my children in that kind of line of fire scenario, I guess.
And that's a fair point. My kids are not kids anymore.
Right.
They're both adults and dangerous on their own, so so now I can do that. It's not such a big deal.
Right.
Well, we were just discussing about anonymity because we've had, I know that I personally have had threats online. So a lot of us don't include our familial information or where we can be found other than maybe the city or the location, the area, for that specific reason, because you don't know what kind of fruitcakes are out there. They're going to see something they don't like, and next thing you know.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with the stalker type.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this is very big with these people. They feel, I mean, we just had a report of a woman who was beating somebody up until they, like, accepted God, and it was crazy.
Right. Right.
I
The
did
lady,
see that
wasn't
story.
it the homeless man? Right.
There was two of them. There was one where there was a guy that was homeless, and yes, this woman severely injured this guy to where he had to crawl for help.
That's just.
And then there was another one where this woman found out that her neighbor was Jewish and started berating him from the front yard while he was in his house, and then started pounding on his door, demanding that he better accept Jesus.
What?
In December, there was a girl who was allegedly an atheist, and she was going to get weed from one of her neighbors, and someone found out and shot her in the face, and then proceeded to keep her body in her apartment as a shrine to God. And this,
You see,
I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah.
Wow.
well, this is the reason why when you're dealing with these people in these tight communities, you don't know what's going to happen. So you keep your information to yourself.
Exactly.
Like, you don't really tell
I
anybody.
agree with Tracys.
And especially because somebody always knows a Santero, right? There's always somebody who's got a bruja or brujo, whatever. What is the word? I want to say, well, there's Santero, basically. It's the guy that can do it. It's not the other guy, not the helper.
Oh God, I don't know the word. My
Yeah,
mom's
it's from Santeria.
My mom's in Capulito, Caligolin, but that's different. That's like curanderas, and that's Mexican stuff. So I think.
Right. Well, down here, in every single botanica that you go into, you've got like somebody who knows somebody. And even though they go to mass every single, week, and maybe 2 times a week, that they always know somebody. They're in there buying candles. They're in there buying incense. They're getting special waters and soaps and all these kinds of things. And this is because the superstition never really left the community, even though they converted to Catholicism. They sort of blended the two, and so that's
Yeah, you're right. You were talking about that last time, I think, right, Tracy?
Yeah.
Like, it's funny how, and it's funny because speaking of my mom, she was doing a limpia for this lady earlier who was a Christian, and so I was like, that's hilarious that this lady went to you, a pagan woman, to do limpias on her, and she's a Christian.
Yeah. See, what they did was they just transferred the gods, right? The saints, the gods to the saints. And so you have all of this cultural stuff around each one of them. So they're Catholic, but they believe that the saints are like older than the saints, really, because it goes back even further into their culture. So it's sort of like an amalgam, each one of them. And yeah, I'm telling you right now, they can go to church 2 times a week, but when they feel like they are in danger or fearful or somebody dies, first thing they do are buy those little candles.
Oh yeah.
And speaking on like survival, there he goes. Speaking of surviving though, like surviving, surviving. I've had messages to to Atheist Jesus people, hey, I want to come out to my family, or hey, I want to do this, and the first basic questions I ask him is, where are you at in your life? Are you able to survive on your own? Is this something that you're prepared for? Because if your situation is like when I was living with my drunken grandmother, there was no way in hell I could walk up there and be like, "This is all bullcrap, Grandma." I mean, I needed her to survive. She was my parent figure, so that's what I asked them. I'm like, you need to make sure that you're in a good enough place in your life where you would be able to untether yourself if you have to, because if you feel this strongly about what you feel, and you open up about it to certain people that don't understand, and then the most important thing I tell them is just remind them that you're still the same person, that you still love them exactly the same. The only thing that's different is your belief.
Yeah, that didn't work so well for me.
No, that didn't work for me either.
Yeah. My grandmother couldn't give a shit less that I was the same person. Yeah, I didn't believe, and that was a big issue. Yeah.
Yeah. I told my grandmother a few Easters ago, because she was kind of talking about the Easter story, and I was like, you know what? I like the story about the guy. He sounds like a nice guy and everything. A really cool hippie that wanted peace. But I can't abide by all the myth and all the everything else that came out of his mouth. I mean, of being specific to only being for specific things and shouting at fig trees. I can't.
The fig tree thing got me too.
The funny thing, the first time I read the Gospels, I didn't really get anything out of it. I read them again a year or so ago, and it was like I'd never read them before. I was like, I'm picking up all this information that I just somehow just glossed over the first time, and then now when I read the Gospels, it's like Jesus is a faith healer. He's just a faith healer, just like we have now.
Mm-hmm.
And he has his disciples going off and faith healing other people, right? So they have the same powers that he did. Well, nobody has any actual powers. You got to remember, Jesus is the guy that thinks that you don't need to wash your hands when you eat because it's not the stuff that goes in your mouth. It's the demons that come out of your mouth. He believes in demonic possession. That's what makes people sick. This is the guy that they're all, this is their ultimate human being ever. He's a faith healer. Why the hell are we honoring this guy?
Well, everybody says like I love your Jesus, but I don't like his followers. But to be perfectly honest, when you look at what he said, he did say something. Okay, Christianity had not begun obviously yet because he was the guy, right? Supposedly, and he has attributed to him where he says that you have to follow the whole of the law. So he's still a Jew, right? So he's like got the Torah. Right. So he's telling them to follow all of the law.
Right.
So exactly how do these new Christians, like today's Christians, justify this when you ask them? And the Catholics will say it right to you. It's the second covenant. So
Right. And we get that all the time on AJ. Alex and I get that all the time. They it's the New Testament only counts, and we'll tell them, we'll give them that scripture, and we're like, he said, until heaven and earth pass away. I think we're all still here. But then they'll still,
Yeah, but you got to remember the same guy also said that none of you standing here with me right now will even taste of death before I come back from the dead. I think he's 1,900 years late.
Yeah. Well, and also you can look up how many people were claimed to be the Messiah, right? Because the Messiah or the Messiah, however you want to say it. I can't do the thing. So, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, if you look this up, and I've got a huge long list of them, and it's all of these people, their names, where they came from, where they got the information, where they deemed this report from, and it's actually has like pretty credible references, each one of them, that there was over 40 or between 40 and 50 is what I remember counting, claims as the Messiah. So, why did they settle on the guy from Nazareth? I don't know.
They were all over the place back in those days.
It's like that line out of Jesus Christ Superstar: "You Jews produce messiahs by the sackful." Yeah,
they do.
We are coming up on an hour.
I have a joke, but I'm not going to say it.
We're coming up on an hour, and I want to make sure everybody's said their piece. So, Tracy's been the most verbal, and I think I'm going to let her say the final.
Dear.
Yeah,
me?
The queen of the universe.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, Sal, do you have any closing comments, sir?
Oh, really? Just like to get it out there that, Latinos, you're not alone. If you don't believe in God, you're not alone. Look for us, the Secular Latino Alliance. You have friends. We treat each other like familia. I mean, that's how we become close. We're like each other's cousins. That's just what it feels like.
Pretty much.
We probably are each other's cousins.
Probably
Yeah,
are.
if we go way back in time, then yes.
But in a time when you're going through something like this and you just don't feel like you can turn to your family, you can have us if you look for us.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, Gary.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Closing comments, sir.
Closing comments. To kind of continue what I was saying, you don't have to be Latino to be part of the group. Of course, we welcome everyone, and because to use the old Latino stereotype that my family goes by, everybody come on in. As long as you respect us, we respect you back. So you don't have to have it in your blood. You can come on in and just
grab a beer,
grab a Corona right over there, and just express your non-belief with other people that understand.
Thank you very much for that.
Huh?
Luciano.
Well, I feel like a lot of what I want to say has already been said, but the only thing I'm going to say is it's hard to be alone. It's hard to not know people who look and think like you. It's hard to not know people who have the same culture, especially I feel like Hispanics have it kind of tough when it comes to not being Christian. Even if you're theistic, if you're not Christian, as a Latino, it's kind of hard. And I want everyone out there who feels this to know that they don't have to be alone.
Yeah, I wish there could be a group like this for Arabs, because I was in the United Arab Emirates recently, and there's a similar thing there, but they can't speak up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Arabs are welcome to come over to us as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Very good. So Gary says you don't have to be Latino, and now we're welcome to Jesus. Was that you're going to be your final comment there, Jesus?
Well, I guess like in Jesus' name, I mean, I actually do love everybody, you know. Everybody's welcome. You know, it's not just a Latino thing. But I guess my final thoughts are this group is just pretty much for everybody that has a story, pretty much. Of like, I don't believe. My family still believes. I'm an outsider. I need some sort of a union, a family sort of thing, and that's what we're providing here. So
family is huge for Latinos.
Yeah, family is huge.
Yeah.
And like I said, everybody is welcome. But it's not only just that we gather together and we share stories. We have future plans where we're gonna help out people, like helping the homeless and helping other groups. Support LGBTQ people as well. I mean, it's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But Aaron, thank you for having us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yes.
My pleasure. And
thank you.
Alex?
Well, I mean, everyone basically said what I wanted to say. I mean, if anything...
Well, then you can tell people how to find you guys.
Well, I mean, it's really simple. You literally, if you were to just Google up Secular Latino Alliance,
Gotcha.
we're like the first thing that pops up. First page links you directly to if you wanted to join us. It's really simple. You just join the Facebook group and you're in.
Okay.
There's no additional things required. It's just you join in, to say hi to everybody, and then just share your story, and then you start to make connections with people.
Again, I was thinking with my 20th century mind. All right, and Tracy, I'm going to let you close out the show.
Okay, well, there's something that I did want to bring up. Specifically, we do discuss issues, I mean, politics, whatever, but and not everybody is in an agreement all the time, but it's not a debate group. It's a support group, and people that support the ideology of secularism. And so it has responded so well that people will literally just post in there about how they finally feel like they found their tribe, So it's sort of fun to see people open up that were so quiet and kind of lurking. We have a lot of major activity on these posts that I was kind of shocked, and the few arguments that have happened in there have been far and few between. It's usually, I've never seen such a civil discussion of social issues ever in a group.
Really?
So I want to give props to the group. Oh yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. I don't know about you guys.
Until we fight.
Yeah, until we throw down.
Right, Latinos can get heated.
Don't you make me get my sister. Yeah, and also we do have plans. We've been discussing going to the Reason Rally and representing. So
for sure,
you may see us there.
T-shirts.
And what was that?
T-shirts.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Oh, Jesus, take it away with the swag.
Hey, very good.
The hat's coming soon as well. So, Aaron, I'm gonna send you one.
Thank you so much. All right, and I guess that is the show. And I want to thank you guys for being on. This was a very pleasant conversation. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for having us.
Good night.
Good night.